We are here to talk about anti-Semitism. What an enjoyable evening. It's a serious topic, but we can't get too serious about it. Obviously, it goes without saying, it has to be fought. We can't let it go on. We got to do whatever we can to punish those who do it, to discourage those who are thinking of doing it, and to holding the police and the government responsible to make sure that crimes are not committed. But we are not the police. What do we do? Firstly, how do we understand what's going on? Anti-Semitism is the oldest truth in the world. It is so predictable. It's so reliable. There's never been a time when there weren't anti-Semites. It's amazing. The attack in New Jersey, afterwards they were interviewing people who lived there in the neighborhood. And some of them said, you know, before the Jews moved in here, this never happened. You see how anti-Semitism works? So that there's two Jewish men walking down the street, and they walk past a church, and they see a sign, "Convert today $100." One of them says, $100? I'm going to do it. The other one says, don't be crazy. What are you going to become a Christian? He says, $100. It's okay. You go. I'm not going. I'll wait for you. One of them goes inside. He's there for about an hour. He comes out. $100. I'm sorry. He comes out and he says, I did it. I did it. I became a Christian. So his friend says, did they give you the $100? He says, you Jews, all you ever think about is money. Instant anti-Semitism. What exactly is anti-Semitism? What is it? It's so strange. Purim is coming up soon. Perfect example of anti-Semitism. There was Haman and there was Achashverosh. Haman comes to Achashverosh and he says, I want to get rid of the Jews. I'll give you 10,000 pieces of silver. Let me do it. Achashverosh says, you don't have to pay me. Go do it. Two forms of anti-Semitism. And the Gemara gives the example. There's a man who has in his field that he has to plow, there's a pit. You have to plow around it, not comfortable. Another farmer, in the middle of his field, there's a hill, also harder to plow. The man who has the pit, the hole, comes to the other farmer, and he says, I need some soil to fill the hole. Can I buy some soil from you? And the other farmer says, you don't have to buy it. I have a hill that I would like to get rid of. Take it for free. Haman is the type of anti-Semite who feels a hole, an emptiness. Achashverosh is the type who feels that there's something in his field that doesn't belong to him. Makes him uncomfortable. There are anti-Semites who suffer from a feeling of emptiness. They look at the Jew and they say it's your fault. There's another kind of anti-Semitism where the Jew just doesn't fit into his plan, doesn't fit into his picture of life, of his country of reality. Who is more dangerous, Haman or Achashverosh? It seems like Haman is the more aggressive one. But if Haman can fill his empty feeling, he would stop being an anti-Semite. Achashverosh doesn't seem to be so aggressive, but he's more dangerous. Because he can be an anti-Semite even after the hill is gone. He switches. He's unreliable, can't be trusted. Chassidus tells us that there are two kinds of darkness. There's the darkness like the plague in Egypt that we're reading about, where the darkness you could actually feel. It feels like darkness. It's a thick evil, a powerful evil, and you have to fight it. You have to fight it. The Rabbi said that the Rebbe's approach is that we fight darkness with light. This has not always been the case. For most of our history, think for a minute, how did we fight darkness? Did we fight darkness? What's been the traditional, typical Jewish reaction to anti-Semitism? There were occasions when we simply picked up our weapons and went to war, like Hanukkah. The Maccabees went to war against the evil of the Greeks, the Assyrians. Even in our time, under the communists, the previous Rebbe declared war. He didn't use guns, but he declared war against communism. He didn't try to escape Russia. He wanted to destroy the atheism and the evil called communism. It was a thick, dark plague of darkness like in Egypt, and you have to fight it. And in that fight, every Chabad family lost a husband, a father, a son. But we won. You know that Yiddishkeit is alive and well everywhere in the former Soviet Union. You have to fight, even at a steep cost. The Rebbe says, we fight darkness with light. We didn't do that with communism. We sacrificed. They closed a mikveh, we built another one. They killed the teacher, we found another teacher. I don't know if you know about this, but in all the underground yeshivas that Chabad had, only single men were allowed to teach there, because the chances of their getting killed was very big, and they didn't want to destroy a whole family. That was a fight. The other traditional response, the more common traditional response was, don't antagonize. Shah, mach nicht kein Tummel. Don't be too obvious, don't be too noticeable. Stay in the shadows, don't draw attention. Low profile. The Poritz tells you to jump, you jump. Don't make trouble. Like the two Jews who were captured by the enemy, and they were standing in front of a firing squad. And one of them shouted, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And the other one said, Shah, you'll get us in trouble. That was the traditional response. And it was sensible and it was reasonable. When you can't fight, you try something else. So we played along. We tried to make nice. That was the traditional response. The Rebbe says, our response to darkness is more light. Here's what changed. There is a darkness that needs to be destroyed because it is a darkness of substance. If you don't destroy it, it will go on. It will get worse. But then there's a darkness that is simply the absence of light. If there's no light, what's left is darkness. That's a different darkness. If it's the whole, if it's what's missing, fighting it only makes it worse. You're giving it too much attention. You're giving it too much credit. You're giving it more power by fighting it. I can't get over this interview. On the streets of a campus, this man went with a camera and he stopped students and he said, who is the worst person in history, the worst leader in history? He said Trump. The man said, worse than Hitler? He says, yes. He says, even though Hitler killed 6 million Jews? This college student said, he did? Is this anti-Semitism? This ignorance is shocking. So if this same guy went and painted a swastika, does he know what he's doing? Does he know what a swastika is? Does he know who Hitler was? There's a hole. There's a huge hole. And when there's an emptiness, what gathers to fill the emptiness? Nasty stuff. The lowest, easiest reaction. And that is to lash out. Look who is committing these crimes. Particularly the young people. If you stop and look, what is the diet? Today's young people, here and in Europe, what are they raised with? What do they read? They don't read. What do they learn in school? Anything that has to do with morality, with right and wrong, with holy or unholy, with good and evil? Nothing. What entertains them every day of their life? Violence and sex and violence. The games that they play on the computer, all violence. The movies, all violence. If you watch what the kids are watching, you are convinced everybody in the world has at least 3 automatic weapons. One in the car, one in the basement, and one under his pillow. What do today's young people know about life? Nothing. It's a huge hole. And it gets filled with guns and bombs, multiple murders. On every video game, it's how many people you kill. Never kill just one. When the evil, the darkness, is a result of absence of light, you don't fight it. You fill the emptiness. You bring the light. That's a safer way, because to fight it gives it too much power and too much attention. So, of course, the police have to do their job. But what is the long-term solution? How are we supposed to feel? How are we supposed to react? What should be our thinking? Our thinking has to be not the elimination of anti-Semitism, but the alternative to anti-Semitism. If the world stops hating Jews, what's going to replace it? Nothing? That's not good enough. Take a look at the Torah. Right from the beginning and through most of the Torah, what caused all the problems? What caused all the arguments? What caused all the hatred? Jealousy. What was the problem, Cain and Hevel? They had the whole world to themselves and they couldn't share it. Jealousy. What was the problem between Yitzchak and Yishmael? Jealousy. What was the problem between Yaakov and Esav? Jealousy. What was the problem between Yosef and his brothers? Anti-Semitism is jealousy. And the jealousy comes either because they feel that we have something that they don't have, or our existence makes them feel that they are empty. So what's the solution? Let's be friends? No. Why can't we love each other and get along? Not good enough. That's just a ceasefire. That's not real peace. This is the good news. So let's be a little careful before we panic. If you read the secondary stories, in every case where there was an anti-Semitic attack, the entire non-Jewish community came out in support of the Jews. That doesn't make headlines, but it's true. So the anti-Semitism of today, the darkness of today, is simply a total lack of knowledge. It's the absence of light, which is dangerous, but curable. It will get cured. But we have to do our part, not wait for miracles. What is our part? We have to be speaking to the world about right and wrong, about holiness, about godliness. We have to bring God back to the world because the world has lost touch. In Europe, God doesn't exist. When you take God out of the picture, what's going to replace him? Not good things. Never good things. So if someone were to ask you, what is the Jewish God? You have to have an answer. You have to be able to say. Very sadly, if you listen to many of the rabbis in the world, when they speak about God, they sound more Christian than the Christians. Doesn't sound Jewish at all. So let's, for a minute, talk about our answer to the world before they become anti-Semites. What is God? Why do you believe in God? What do you believe? So let's clarify this. believing that there is a God is silly. Because if there is, there is. And if there isn't, there isn't. So what do you mean, do you believe? Everybody believes in God. Everybody. The question is only, which God are you talking about? So the classical argument between religion and science. The scientist says there's no God. The world began with subatomic particles. If the world began with subatomic particles, then that's God. Because God means the original substance from which everything else evolved. So you think it's a subatomic particle. Okay, that's your God. When we say God, we're talking about an original being who, unlike the subatomic particles, knows what he's doing. That's it. That's your choice. Your choice is, do you believe in a God who started a world and doesn't even know it? Or do you believe that God, who started the world, did it intentionally, with a plan? There's no such thing as an atheist. Just because you call God a particle doesn't make you an atheist. It makes you an idolater. Tell you another thing that makes you an idolater. If you say, God needs certain things, we need certain things, and they're often in conflict. He needs me to fast on Yom Kippur, I need to eat. He needs me to get married, I need to stay single. He needs me to rest on Shabbat. My business works best on Shabbat. So we have two needs, and we have to figure out how to get along, like a bad marriage. So for many, many years, we were told, your needs are not as important as his. So give up what you need. Be humble. Be obedient. Be submissive. God is the boss. You do what he wants. What you want, you have to sacrifice. That sound like a religion? Amazingly, it worked. It worked. Not only for Jews. The whole world behaved, built cities, built communities, made new inventions, explored new countries. Why? Because they needed to. Everybody in the world was told what they need to do. Either by the Tsar, or by some other dictator, or by a preacher, by a religious leader. Everyone was always telling you what you need to do, what you must have. Today, it's the media. Constantly, you are being told what you must have. You must have this new car. You must have this new pair of shoes. You must have this medicine to clear up your sinuses. It might kill you, but so what? Clear up your sinuses. Everything in the media, in society, is telling people what they need to do. And of course, you have to pay for it. It reached a point where we can't take it anymore. So young people are suddenly saying, I don't need to. You're telling me I need to? I don't need to. I don't care. So your frum Zayde said, you have to keep Shabbos. You have to go to shul. So they went to shul. Today, if you try saying to your grandchild, you need to keep kosher. I need to? I don't need to. No, you must. No. You have to do this. I don't have to. It took us 5,000 years to figure this out. I don't have to. Not only with religion, everything. The farmer would wake up early in the morning to milk the cow. Why? Have to. You got to milk the cow. He would take his 10-year-old son with him to go out and plow the fields. Why? You have to. It's plowing season. It's the season you have to plow. So they plowed. Today, I have to. I don't have to. They don't have to. Why don't I have to? Because I didn't ask to be born. Pretty simple deduction. I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to be born because I don't need to be. So if I don't need to be born, what do you mean I need to plow the field? I don't need anything. I didn't even need to be born. So a man in India sued his parents that they should pay all his bills for the rest of his life because they gave birth to him without his permission. Sounds funny. He literally took them to court, but the courts threw it out. Because the parents said, we didn't ask to be born either. So blame grandma. And the grandmother said, I didn't ask to be born either. It sounds funny when you first hear it, but think about it for a minute. Nobody asks you. All of a sudden you're born, and you have to pay the bill. Does that make sense? You have to go to school, you have to get into a good college, you have to get a good job, you have to pay the mortgage and the taxes. Wait. Did I sign a contract? Did I agree to this responsibility? No. So if you give birth to me, you pay the bills. Doesn't that sound right? And the same thing with religion. God creates me, and now I have to keep Shabbos. So what was the answer in the olden days? Like 10 years ago. What was the answer? You have to keep Shabbos. I do? How did I get myself into this mess? How did I become obligated to keep Shabbos? I never agreed to this. You're right, you never agreed to this. But if you don't keep Shabbos, you're going to burn in hell. Aha! That means you have nothing more to say. If you're starting to threaten me, it means you have nothing more to say. So you're not telling me why I need to keep Shabbos. You're just telling me that I'm going to get it. So obviously you don't know why I should keep Shabbos either. Because if you knew, you would tell me. You obviously don't know, so you're threatening me. Did you try threatening a child today? Doesn't work. You can't threaten a child today. So what are we going to do? Can't beat up your kids. What are we going to do? The Rebbe prepared us for this deeply, thoroughly, amazingly. The Rebbe said, you don't need to be born. You don't ask to be born. So why are you? Why are you here? This is no longer a religious question. This is a life question that young children are asking. You tell a child to clean up his room. He says, I didn't ask to be born. Now I have to clean up rooms? So it's not a religious question. It's not a philosophical question. It's a question of reality. What am I doing here, and how did I become obligated to pay bills and to clean up rooms and to get good report cards? How did this happen? And it's such a good question. In the secular world, this causes people to commit suicide because they have no answer. I didn't ask to be born, and I am burdened with needs. This doesn't make sense. I quit. But if you're being logical, it's true that you didn't ask to be born. It's true that you don't need to be born. I've never heard someone who wasn't born complain. Hey, why wasn't I born? No such complaint. We don't need to be born. So follow the logic. If you're not here out of need, then why are you here? The most logical answer. You're not here because of your need. No. If you're not here because you need it, someone needs it. Someone needs you to be born. So here's our message to the world. A world that is suffering from a complete lack of knowledge, a complete lack of wisdom. The message is simply this. If you think you need, and you're trying to satisfy your needs, you're going to become depressed. Because it's artificial. You don't really need anything. So as soon as you start thinking need, you're already depressed. The alternative is you are needed. If you look at all the psychology of all the mental, emotional problems in the world, these are the two key ingredients. It is depressing to be needy, and it is depressing to not be needed. If you solve those two problems, you will have no others. Guaranteed. Part of the failure of psychotherapy whether it's Freud or Adler or Maslow or whoever it is. The failure is they keep focusing on your need. They're actually making you depressed. You come to the therapist and you say, I have so many needs, I can't stand it. Basically, the therapist says, you have no idea how many needs you have. You have needs you never even thought of. Your mother never wanted you. You're jealous of your brother. Thank you very much. I feel so much better now that I have more needs. And then you come to religion for a little relief. What are you told? Those are only the problems in this world. Wait till you get to the next world. There are problems there waiting for you. So, come on, enough already. Here is the simple conclusion. We have the option to think of our needs or to think of who needs us. If nobody needs you, you are depressed. If you have needs, you are depressed. So what's the solution? Obviously, your needs are not yours. His need of you is absolutely eternal. The best of both worlds. I have no burdens. I have no reason to be depressed because I don't need anything. But if nobody needs me, I'll be depressed. God needs you. That's Judaism. The rest is commentary. We made such a terrible error. Maybe it was due to influence from Christianity or from Islam or wherever. When did God become indifferent, retired, sitting up in heaven watching us struggle? We are needy and he needs nothing. Isn't that the picture? He's God. He doesn't need anything. We have needs. The first words of the Torah, once you understand them, you don't need anything else. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Tell me, who needs? Did you hear that? He created heaven and earth. He needs nothing. I didn't create anything, so I need nothing. But he created the world. He doesn't need. How did we get so upside down? The creator of the world has a huge need, an infinite, eternal need, strong enough to make him create an entire universe. We, on the other hand, never asked to be born. What do I need? Let's take this one step further. You need to eat. You need to sleep. You need a car. You need a phone. You need a doctor. See? We have lots of needs. Just a minute of thought. You need to eat. I need to eat. Actually, I need to stop eating. And I can't. So my question is, who did this to me? Who did this to me? If I designed myself, would I make myself dependent on food every 3 hours? If I designed myself, I would make myself less talented than a camel? Can't go without water? If I designed myself, I would need to breathe? Why, I'm not as talented as a fish? These things that we call our need is not ours. We didn't choose it, we didn't agree to it, we don't want it, we don't like it. What do you mean, our? My need. I need to eat. No. No. Whoever created me dependent on food. Thank you very much. I need this like a hole in the head. I need to get a job. I need to get a job? Who created the system? Who made it necessary to have a job? Not me. I'm against it. I'm against school. I'm against jobs. Who needs it? But that's not the world that I was invited into. I don't make the rules. I don't choose the rules. They're already there. And who made those rules? The Creator. So is it true that I need to eat? Or that He needs me to eat? So let me end with this. A young boy went off to yeshiva in France. Very strict. The day he arrives, he walks into the office of the Rosh Yeshiva, and he says, in Yiddish, he says, I need to call my mother. Where's the phone? And the Rosh Yeshiva said to him, you need to call your mother. What does I mean? And what does need mean? Think again. Listen to this. He said, I need to call my mother. Not true? Not true. What should he have said?
I want to call my mother.
Also not true. My mother needs me to call her. I need to call her? Why is everything me? That's what the Rosh Yeshiva was saying. You need to call. Who do you think you are? Your mother deserves that you should call her. You need? It's a chutzpah. I need to eat right now. Really? You're the Creator? You created yourself? So let's be careful. When we say we believe in God, it doesn't mean we believe there is a God. Everybody knows there's a God. The only thing that is as consistent and as universal as anti-Semitism is the belief in God. So what do we mean when we say ani ma'amin? I believe. It means I am aware of what's true. He needs me more than I need him. He is the Creator, so he is the one who needs. And I'm not going to compete with him and make believe that I have needs. So the one thing that a human being needs is to know who needs you. That's it. Is that not Judaism? Is that not the whole Torah? God comes down to Mount Sinai to tell us what we need? What is that? No. He came down to Mount Sinai to tell us what he needs and how much he needs us to do that. Just imagine tomorrow morning, people all over the world wake up and say, why am I here? What do I need? I don't want to need. I'm sick and tired of needing. The world would be 50% cured. But then they're going to ask, so why am I here? And only Jews can give the answer. That's when anti-Semitism will stop. The alternative is, you can be our brothers, and then you'll be proud. So we're not going to be content to have a bunch of policemen protecting every shul. That's not life. It's not emes. So until the crime stops, of course, we should have the police. But that's not the solution. The solution is the world has to become proud to be in the world in which God chooses the Jewish people as his messenger. And what is the message that we should give our non-Jewish neighbors? God needs you more than you need him. So serve him with joy. Make sense? Where does it say this in the Torah? The Rebbe quoted it hundreds of times. I was not created except to serve my Creator. If you're a psychologist, listen to the power of those words. I was not created except to serve my Creator, which means I don't need this. If you're asking me, don't create me. Do me a favor. Then why am I here? Because he needs me. How can God need? Go to yeshiva, you'll find out. But he needs. He's the creator. How can he not need? So tell the world. It's a shock to many religious people because we always thought we need him so desperately. We go to shul on Yom Kippur and we cry and we beg, please, please, don't kill me, let me live. Give me health, give me this, give me that. God will give us everything. It doesn't cost him. He will give us everything. But he needs us more than we need him. Spread the word. We are a light to the nations. And the message is very clear, and the world wants to hear it. Needs to hear it. That will bring peace to the world because it will bring godliness to the world. And then there will be no anti-Semitism.